All right, we are in the book of Psalms, chapter 116. And verse number 11. I said in my haste, all men are liars. Well, first of all, that is true, that all men are liars. The Bible says in Romans chapter 3 and verse number 4, let God be true and every man a liar. And the Bible says in Psalm 58 and verse number 3 that he came from the womb speaking lies. So it is the nature of all men, mankind, to lie. And some people say, well, I'm not a liar. The Bible says you are. Now, if you turn this and look at another angle at it, what I want to talk about a little bit tonight is sometimes people will lie. Not necessarily they are not necessarily meaning to lie, but in order to tell the when you swear in court, you swear to tell the whole truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But in order for you to do that, you would have to know everything about the situation, which is an impossibility. Only God knows that. And this is the reason we can trust the Lord fully and we cannot trust man fully. Because man, he may not be purposely telling you a lie, but he may be telling you something that he thinks is the truth or he perceives it as truth, but it's not necessarily the truth. And this is the reason I have come, when people tell me things about something that happened, I always keep in the back of my mind that this individual is telling me this based upon what they know, based upon what they perceive. Now, I'm not necessarily accusing them of just blatantly telling a lie. And there are some people that do that. My dad used to say about my sister that she would rather climb a tree to tell a lie than to stand on the ground and tell the truth. Some people are that way. Some people lie so much that you get to a point where you can't believe anything they say. That's a habitual liar. I used to work with a man. I'm assuming now he's dead, but his name was Bobby Hopper. And Bobby Hopper was such a bad liar that his own children, when he would say something, they would look at the mother and say, is that true? Now, I would hate for my children to wonder, no matter what I said to them, they'd have to ask Fran, was he telling the truth? The Bible says, let your yea be yea and your nay, nay. But when you take things at face value, when somebody tells you something without gaining full knowledge, then that is a partial truth. Abraham told a truth, but yet he told a lie when he said that his wife was his sister. Well, she was, but that wasn't the whole truth. And this is something else I found, that people will tell you what they perceive as the truth, but it's the way they perceive it. A lot of times, you've heard the old saying, there's always two sides to every story. Okay, well, then you've got one side that's giving it their view, and another side's giving it their view, and thereby you get not complete truth, but you get more of an understanding of what the truth is. Because if you tell me something, let's say that Joey and Jerry got into an argument, and I'm sitting and Jerry comes and tells me that's his side of it. It's not that Jerry is telling just flat out lying, but he's giving it at his perspective. So this is why you cannot, listen, when you watch the news, just keep an understanding that most of that stuff they're giving you is tilted, slanted, according to whatever view they have. If they're liberal, it's got a liberal slant to it. If they're conservative, it's got a conservative slant to it. Now, I personally do not I won't listen to liberal news media. I won't listen to it. Shepard Smith is on Fox News Channel, comes on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I won't watch him. Everything, even though he's with Fox News, it's always a liberal slant. And some people say, well, I watch that in order to see what the liberals are thinking. I already know what they're thinking. It's trash, most of it, and they want to lead our country down a primrose path into destruction. But our president, when he speaks, he's a conservative, so to speak, but it's always told at his perspective. So this is the reason why the Bible says, let every man be a liar and let God be true. Because the only one you can trust fully is the Lord. And the more you are in this life, the more you understand that people, look, now you have to understand verse number 11, I said in my haste, all men are liars. Now why does he say this in his haste? It's because in verse number 10 he said, I believe, therefore have I spoken, and I was greatly afflicted. Which leads you to believe that he was talking something that he believed, he put his trust and faith in, and whoever he was talking to turned on him because of it. Well, see, now you have an overreaction of the fact that because this person lied to me, everybody's a liar. Okay, and in a sense it's true, but in a sense he's overreacted in this respect. So, when you read, and people have said, well, don't believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see. And it is true. So when you sit, especially kids, when you're sitting in especially a public school, whatever they're telling you, keep in mind that the books are written by liberals who have a liberal slant, and there's another side to this. Not everything is as it appears to be. So this is a reason why I have learned over the process of time not to take what people say fully until I get the complete facts of it all. This is the reason the Bible said it's 2 to 3 witnesses, let everything be established. If you believe what one person tells you, it could be a fabrication. It's their word against. I've had people come and say, why don't you do something? I said, well, it's your word against theirs. And if you don't have anybody else backing you up, then my hands are tied. This is the reason I don't think people ought to be put to death except by 2 to 3 witnesses. Why? Because this person could be lying, or this person could misconceive what's going on. They may misunderstand. So always base everything on, and here's another thing. When you hear something, take it to God. Find out, and even at this, if it's emotionally charged, then you've got to keep that in consideration. That this may stir you up. So you've got to have the process of time in prayer before you get a fuller understanding and find out the facts before you react. Because the Bible talks about this. Unless a person that answers something before they hear it is a fool. Because my wife always told, when kids were growing up, first thing out of her mouth, she would say, don't say no. That's the first thing out of her mouth. Because when she started telling the story about giving the kids liberty, my first reaction was no. But she said, hear me out. That's what she was saying, hear me out. So I've learned, just stop and listen.